This is Rick Saucedo on the ETA Files. Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this week on ETA Files. I'm so excited. We got the guy. I've been wanting to get the guy for a long time. We finally got him. The one and only Rick Saucedo is joining me. Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
It's a pleasure being on your show, and I'll tell you what, we go back a long way, so it's nice to see you again.
I have some stories about you, sir, that, man, I tell you what, you really helped me out in the early days. We might get into that, but right now we're going to be talking about the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. Rick, man, first of all, it's good to see you. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Ryan.
You have had, and I think a lot of people out there know of you, but don't know necessarily everything. We're going to tell that story today, and I'm so excited because I know a lot of it. I don't know all of it, man. But here's the bottom line. You've got this Elvis tribute artist world. It used to be the Elvis world. Now it's kind of morphed into this Elvis tribute artist world.
It's expanded.
Yes.
It's definitely expanded.
But man, you were one of the pioneers, if not the pioneer. You were doing this while Elvis was still alive.
Yes. Yeah. But back in 1972, that we were actually still waiting for the next Elvis album in 72, 73, all the way up to 77.
Wow.
It was nice. It was nice back in those days because we didn't have computers. We didn't have any of this stuff. Everything was either the media, our media was the newspaper and mailing list. That was it. So it's not like today's computer age. So I think that helped build character because it made you work harder because you didn't have a lot to make it easy for yourself. Get on YouTube and it's all over the world. But in those days, it was word of mouth, especially like, even at Graceland, they knew who I was back at that time. Elvis knew who I was. There's a lot of stories. There was one story that he came with the guys from Memphis to see one of the shows. Now, I didn't see him, but I remember seeing a guy with a turban. So, and then I find out later on that Elvis did wear a turban for incognito. So who knows?
That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, just think about that, man. Elvis actually. Well, I'm going down that thought road. Elvis saw you perform. I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome, man. And back in that day, I think you're right. I think that there is more work that goes into that. When I first started out in this business,
right.
The internet was just starting to really come on board. However, I'd been involved in it since college days,
right.
That was kind of what I wanted to get into, building websites and all that when this new World Wide Web came around.
Right.
And, people certainly utilized it, some more than others early on. But I think you're right, man, because when I came in, we were still doing the mailing list. We were still doing, those traditional things, a lot more work. But you definitely had the fan base. And this is in the 70s, too, which is
right.
I'm trying to think, like, really the computer stuff didn't come around until the 90s. So, I mean, you're like 2 decades ahead of that.
Right.
And Rick, I mean, you were on Broadway.
Yeah. But what was weird about that, how I got it, again, it was word of mouth.
Yeah.
That was in 1970 after Elvis passed away. So, everything was still, Stone Age compared to what it is now. And for the people to actually fly out to the producers from New York to fly out to Winnipeg, Canada, we're playing at a cabaret. Ace Frehley was at the show also, and he was telling me about Paul Stanley was a big Elvis fan, big fan of it, that he had pictures of Elvis in his wallet. Okay, yeah, whatever. Okay, you take a little grain of salt there. But then the next night he came down to the show, and Paul's showing me all these pictures of Elvis in that. I said, well, it was hard to believe. But that same night, the producers of New York flew down there, heard of me from Chicago, tracked me down, and asked me would I be interested in doing the Broadway play. So, and it was kind of weird because the first time after I said yeah, and so we had to cancel all these other shows back at that time, and then flew to New York and couldn't believe what it looked like. You know, back in and that time, I was never in New York, where that was my first time. Kind of looked slummy and dirty and all that, and then I remember going into the rehearsal hall and seeing these guys, older than me, about 40 in their 40s, and that it was the Jordanaires. And I walk in there and I says, stupidest thing. I known for saying stupid things. So, anyways, he said, I said, "Look, they're still living." So, so I go,
Icebreaker, Rick. Great icebreaker.
I told that to the producer, not to them.
Oh.
Hands and thing, and Doc Promise was there, and he gave me a cassette of the song of the Broadway play. A lot of things was brought on really quick because we had Peter Dino, the conductor, trying to shape this band together, and then DJ. He was very, uppity up, real super nice guy and everything. And he's playing the drums. And then for the first song, just to warm it up, I asked "Don't Be Cruel." So that we went into "Don't Be Cruel," and I heard those voices. Ryan says, "My God, these are the real guys." And it's just, when you, especially in this business, uh, seeing Elvis at the movies, back in the '60s, as a kid, having that transistor radio and hearing "Stuck on You" and hearing all these songs, little did you know you were going to cross their path one day, and plus have them on your own recordings, So, but anyways, so as soon as I heard their voices, it was like, it wasn't. I didn't mind making mistakes because I could hear them, these professional guys who worked with Elvis, and but I'll tell you one thing, it was an interesting thing to be with these guys. And one thing that Scotty came with DJ, and I was talking with him and I was asking him about "Don't Be Cruel," some of that style of playing. And he said, well, that one note that I played, da, 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 and he says, that's from Woody Woodpecker. Da, 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 says, all of these cool things, as a young kid in my 20s, learning all the stuff and then hearing all the stories with about Elvis. And the thing is, and then I would sit on the sidelines listening to Ray and DJ talking about all the experiences, what it was like at the studio, the first time they met. And one of Ray Walker's first parts was "Fool Such as I." Hugh Jarrett already quit the band by this time, and it was just being a part of something that will never happen again.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, the only one that's left is Ray, DJ, and Neil and Hoyt and Gordon. They're all gone, and it's amazing how time flies by, and then it's that future is what's scary, what's left, And to me, after Lisa passed away, Lisa Marie, it kind of pulled a plug on me, even though I never met her, but it was the last bloodline of Elvis, that belonged to Elvis. I mean, it's kind of weird way of me for being in this business so many years that I never got a chance to meet her. And to me, that was, his daughter. And unfortunately, that kind of like pulled the plug on me a little bit, psychologically and, spiritually for the music also.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I remember I was driving, Rick, from Columbus, Ohio. I was visiting my folks, and I was driving down to the Smoky Mountain Elvis Festival.
Right.
2 years ago, January 12th, which ironically enough was my 50th birthday. And that's the day she died. And I'm driving on the Tennessee Parkway there, Smoky Mountain Parkway, and the news comes on. And I was just like, it was kind of, It was unexpected, obviously, but it hit me harder than I thought it was going to hit me. You know what I mean? I've
You
never
know,
met her.
but it was weird because they were showing her on there when Austin Butler. When I saw her, the thing is, one thing that as an entertainer, I'm sure you kind of send things from audiences when you're when you're doing particular songs. You can see how they react to particular things, and especially as you've been in the business a pretty long time too. But the thing is, when you see a person like an icon like Lisa Marie, when I saw her, I said, "There's something wrong with her."
Mm.
I mean, you could see it unstable, kind of unbalanced. And I was like, there was something wrong with that, because technically she never got over her son committing suicide.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how I felt about that was, she still had newborn kids. And I, understand where, sometimes you have to, you know, everybody has a path spiritually. I've always strongly believed that we already know the day we die before we're born. So we have certain things we can, uh, uh, how we, learn to be more perceptive on our future. And you start getting to the point where you say, like, you stop asking why. It's a plan. It's just something that I've always kind of like, why did I meet these guys? And all these songs that I've written, I would go to Nashville and I recorded, 4 or 5 songs with the Jordanaires, The Legend Lives On, just to know that these guys are on that. And then you look at your destiny and how far do you really go with this? I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I think that Rick, it's one of those things. I think in your youth, you don't think about it.
Of course.
And it's kind of cool that in your youth, you had the opportunity to work with the exact same people that Elvis worked with. Number one, you probably, and you can expand on this. You became friends with these guys, not just working with them, but you became friends with them.
Right. And with the Stamps also.
Yeah.
JD.
Yep. But I think as you get older, especially in this business or entertainment, I think in general,
right.
Where you may have accomplished something, whatever that is or whatnot, but you're definitely on top of the hill more so than you were when you started, and you're looking down and I think it's human nature to look at it and say,
well, the thing is writing songs.
Yeah.
To me, I've written all different types of songs. I got, music everywhere, many, many albums I've written. But the thing is, it's what you're going to leave when you're no longer here. Look at the legacy that Elvis did. Unbelievable. It's like he's still alive. When you hear, it never ends, and which will never really ever end. But the thing is, me as a writer, one of the hardest things was to write is Elvis type music. Like I Will Stay, El Diablo, 23 Skidoo, I thought of kind of like Hound Dog, trying to find the right chemistry to match, to bring the Jordanaires into it. That was the most difficult thing, but I have a legacy when I'm no longer here. So to me, that's one of the most important things, Ryan, is to leave something to show that you were here. Unfortunately, friends like Johnny Hero, a few songs, not even a handful. Johnny Spence, another one that passed away. They didn't leave much. And for all the years that I've been in this business, I got an album, Heaven Was Blue, that didn't do well at all. But in Europe, it's a cult classic, and you can't touch that album for $1,300 to $1,500 for an album, an original. But to me, that's important. Whether it's successful or not, the whole point is that you left something that was important to you, and to many others.
Yeah. Yeah. Rick, we got some of your music. You mind if we play some of it here, either now or a little bit later on, and just let people listen to kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, sure.
Rick, the original music thing and what you're talking about, leaving a legacy. I think that there's something about you saying that's eye opening. And I hope that there's a lot of young cats out there or younger people who are in this business or just in entertainment in general who can take a step back and hear the wisdom of what you're saying. We have all been blessed, and I mean it, blessed to perform as Elvis Presley. Use that vehicle. Obviously, we're not Elvis Presley. Elvis was something special, but and I've always said, you could be the best Elvis tribute artist, impersonator, whatever you want to use, but you're still just pretending to be somebody else.
Right.
What is your voice?
My voice, it ranges. The thing is, my voice, I used to do Robert Plant. I got a very high range. I've done so much material when I was with my rock band Red Wing. I sang, some Journey. I did, high pitched, powerful rock songs because in order to, I did not know which way my future was going to go. The Elvis thing was fantastic. I loved it, and I still do this very day. It would be weird never to sing another Elvis song. It's not going to happen. But the fact is, writing these other songs, as an example, I could be in the studio recording, and I'll be talking in between takes, not Elvis music, and I will still hear that Elvis, slang in there because when you've lived your life psychologically with that man's voice in the back of your head all the time, that to me, that's, you're not trying to be him, but some things, here you got Madonna moves to England. She comes back with an English accent, and she's only there for a few months. So, it's certain things that I guess what I'm trying to say is the most important thing that is spiritually what's in your head. You got to find that outlet on what you want to really project musically. If I hear a certain thing, if I hear a song, I can tell you what key it is. Key of A for Blue Suede Shoes, or Hey Jude, key of F, Paul McCartney, which I've done before. So I have these keys in my head. Styles, it's always great to be versatile because first of all, there's only one Elvis. Nothing is gonna. You're not. I don't care how many contests you win. You're not moving in the Graceland. You're still gonna go home. You're still gonna do what you got to do. So, but the ranges. My voice, like I said, ranges in all different directions.
You're obviously blessed. I mean, God gave you a super gift.
I can do Chubby Checker's voice. I could do the lead singer of the Turtles. It depends. You got to use your brain like a computer. That's how you get that. When you hear it, if you're musically inclined the way I am, I'm so tuned up 24 hours in music, editing. I hear music constantly. So if I hear something, it's easy to imitate it because I hear it in my head. I could do John Lennon's voice. I could do Paul McCartney's voice. I could do a lot of voices, all depending of what the situation is. So technically, that question, I don't know what my voice really is.
That's a great. That's kind of awesome. I mean, but maybe that's your voice. Maybe you're just so stinking talented, Rick. That
if you get a good band that can copy the material, that's when the computer hits in as an entertainer. That's when it's easier to sound like it. You get a makeshift karaoke track, then it's time to finagle in your head because it's not done. It's not perfect the way you want it. That's why when you hear like for EP projects, it's easy to get into the character. So it's like it all depends on what's in your head. And working in it too.
Do you consider though, Rick? I'm just going to ask you this. Do you consider that maybe, just maybe, you're special, and that maybe
Uh,
not everyone's built like Rick Saucedo?
maybe be the God. I mean, I am his child. He gave me the talent. Let's just put it that way. He put me on this earth to do something, and he gave me I play so many instruments because I do when I record a song, I record drums, bass, guitar. I do all the stuff, and then I think all the background vocals that goes with it. So yes, there is a talent, but I received it from God, and a lot of years of being on the road and living in hotels with nothing to do. So I I go to local music store, buy a banjo. I mean, when I was in New York, I learned how to play sitar. It gets boring. I
Yeah,
learned a lot. Use them later on.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Like, how many instruments? Just like off the top of your head, give me an estimate. How many instruments do you play?
I play drums, guitar, rhythm guitar, lead guitar, bass, and I do a lot of string. With the horns in that. I play sitar, harmonica, piano. I do a lot of piano work too. Um, I love playing piano. I've written a lot of songs. It all depends, of what instrument I got in my hands. And watching a little television, I just wrote a song called California Summer Sun, watching a movie called The Beach Boys' American Family. And I wrote a song of the Beach Boys. So I had to figure out the Mike Love, the Brian Wilson, imitate those voices for the song. And again, I don't know where it comes from, but there's a reason for the time, the place, and when it happens.
That's awesome, man. That kind of like gets me motivated. Let's go. That's awesome. Let me ask you this now: with all this talent, is there one way you're talking about songwriting? Okay, and I think songwriting is a very personal thing. Everybody does it differently, but for
Right.
you, what where does it come from, and does like whatever instrument you have in your hand, piano, sitting at a piano or a guitar or whatever, does it kind of
Come
change the
from?
feel?
Very simple. It comes from a higher place because I've written so many songs in my sleep, and I've lost a lot of sleep because I would come up with a song in my head. Um, uh, what do they call that? You come out of your body,
Yeah.
and then you go to the one place in heaven where there's a music library. You're given that material because if you think about that, Brian, when you wake up, even from a dream, see if you agree about this. Wake up from a dream, it starts disappearing. You remember it for the few seconds as you're up, and all of a sudden, as you 10 minutes go by, it starts fading away.
And you got to write it down.
So you write it down, or you find the nearest your phone and record it. But I strongly believe God gives you this material. So, and I figure, I'm going to have to answer it when I meet him. I gave you all this material. What did you do with it? I'm going to have to answer to it. And because I don't do a lot of them, I mean, of my birthday song, the Rock and Roll Oldie Show, a lot of people these are fan favorites of the songs that I've written. So now I add all the 5 Jordanaires songs that I recorded with them. I use them in my 60s show. So, but the thing is, that's to me is the most important thing, Ryan, what's in your soul, because you should never let people take away what you really feel inside. To me, that's very, very important because that's a God gift.
Hmm.
And to deny that because somebody didn't like that song or like that, you got to keep on plowing through. Because I remember in the early years, I was with this killer band in the '90s, and we did That's the Way It Is, the whole album, and they did a beautiful job of it. People didn't care for it, and also in the '70s and the mid '70s, we would do Shopping Around. We would do a lot of Such a Night, Fun in Acapulco, Roustabout. We would do all these songs, but people were not tuned into it, and they just wanted to hear what they heard on the AM radio. So I had to break down these barriers, and get a couple of, not too welcome after I was done with the song because they'd never heard it before. But after they've heard it, after I've done them, just like, when I did, after Elvis passed away in 77, we were doing the auditorium theater with J.D. Sumner's. Something happened. They had a cancel, but it was sold out. And I told my manager at the time, this is right after Elvis died. It's on 2020. Geraldo played it too. I created the smoke machine for the American Trilogy. So when I created that, then everybody was doing it. But it was amazing because I threatened my manager at the time. Well, Rick, you really don't want to do that. Yes, I do. If I don't get what I want, I'm not doing the show. So he got the thing, because I was all that in a bag of chips in those days. So anyway, I finally got it. They set the drums up with hot ice, the dry ice, and that's before all the chemical smoke machines. So, anyways, I go up on the set. I pull my arms out there for the very first time. Smoke comes out there. Now the dry eye. All these women were crying. It was very effective. And man, it was so effective that it ended up on Full House. Jesse was doing that American Trilogy, and I told my daughter, your dad invented it. Yeah, Dad, sure you did.
That's awesome.
But interesting life I've had.
Yeah, right on, man. How do you feel about this is a broad question. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, so I'm just going to ask it and you get out there with it. How do you feel about the modern day Elvis world that has kind of become morphed into more of an Elvis tribute artist world? Let's face it, Elvis has been gone now.
Yeah. First of all, I would be honest. I've always been honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't really watch the ETA world.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing I can learn. Because I've done it all. I've done so many things that people told me, this guy's doing what you're doing right. Which is a compliment. I've heard impersonators doing my songs. The Legend Lives On, Memphis, I'm Coming Home, I Will Stay. To me, that's the compliment. But the fact is, what's going on, again, long as they give their whole heart and soul into it, it doesn't matter whether you're good or not. The fact is, I'm not going to be Elvis, ever going to be Elvis. None of us are, like you said before. But the thing is, what's important to me is that they all do the best that they can. You can never try being something. You're never going to move into Grayson. Never going to get a record contract of doing Elvis because it's already been done. So the thing is, my thing of how I feel about it is, I think a lot of the companies, like no disrespect to like B&K, their early thing was buy our jumpsuits, you'll get more work. That didn't sit very well with me. Because first of all, I'm a person of talent. So I was blessed for it. So it was more easier for me. But for other impersonators, I think honestly, the contest, I think, demoralizes people spiritually. I didn't win that. It doesn't matter whether you win or not. The fact is, if you're paying to lose, that is, to me, is a loss. It's like going gambling and thinking you're going to win $1 million and you just gave away your check, your work check. But the thing is,
how do you really feel, Rick?
I've never entered a contest. Don't care to. Got nothing to prove.
Good for you.
But thing is, my thing is creating. What can I do to expand the Elvis? That's what's important. That's why I will stay. LDL. I've had so many people. A friend of mine asking me. This friend of mine, Tony Ocean, we did his wedding, and I Will Stay for his wedding. I just wrote the song. He calls me up at about 4:30 in the morning. and he's at his house. And I said, what are you doing at your house? I'm trying to find what album is that from? Is that from Follow That Dream? I says, no. You can look till you get married 3 more times. I wrote the song. But the well, but that's the beauty when you can write something that belongs to you, and still you can add to the Elvis mystique because it ended. So now you got to use your brains, put all this knowledge, that all this film footage, all this stuff that you've seen, and make something of it and continue it in a different manner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, it ended, and then I mean, there you've got some of your critics that saying Elvis was the first Elvis impersonator, which was kind of like a bad jab when I heard that. But they said, and I've heard it from other people, because the way Elvis was in '77, it was like he was like an impersonator now, because that power that he had from NBC, that's the way it is. It was like he was an animal let out of a cage. He was just so powerful. And then to see him in '77, which is one of my favorite albums, because I love the selection of songs. I think they could have done a better mix of it, because that's what I do. I mix music in it. But when I look at him, I could see part of the spirit gone. I saw the tiredness. I saw I mean, Elvis is still Elvis. I went to go see him at the Chicago Stadium, and I remember him walking, and I remember him cocking his head. His eyebrow went up. I said, I had enough. This is too much. It's too good. I finally saw this legend that I've been portraying at this time. Just started to see him, and all these movies that I've seen him, just to see him, the real guy, in the same room, even with thousands of other people. But the thing is, when you watch '77, I mean, and you could see, like, even in Aloha, it was more production than it was an animal. You listen to Hound Dog, it is tamed back, almost like a cha-cha beat. And then you hear, but then you hear him on Elvis in concert. You hear that, you hear that pop. That's the Elvis. Elvis is sometimes a little hard to describe it, because I like to study who he really is, and when you see him, that's the way it is. You see him on tour. It's this guy's really a real guy. He's just like an animal. And then by '74, you could see It's Midnight. If you talk in your sleep, you could see things were changing. Raised on Rock, he tried to get another Burning Love out of it. He had the gift of picking songs. But the thing is, at the end of his career, one of my favorite songs, "If You Love Me, Let Me Know." I love the way he does it. Elvis, when he took "Always on My Mind" and he sang it, it was like, yeah, this is a phenomenal recording. No disrespect to Willie Nelson, but Elvis knocks it out of the park. But that Elvis was in better spirits. His spirit, he was tired, he was drained. He still wanted, he's playing racquetball in the middle of the night, being overweight. It was a sad time. I mean, for me, because I was getting my teeth cleaned and finding out at the dentist that he passed away. It's hard, because I didn't know what to do after that. Where do I go now? I remember after Ed Sullivan died, they stopped doing Ed Sullivan. Am I supposed to stop doing Elvis? I had death threats too at that time. Yeah, it was a weird. I've been in and out, hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold in this business. It's the way it's geared. And that's just doing Elvis.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. You've got a life of stories. I love this. Let me ask you a couple questions about what I can sense is really dear to your heart, and it's your music. You mentioned early on, like, hey, back in the day, you had to work hard. You had to have a mailing list. You had to lick stamps and put it on envelopes and all that stuff. But do you get involved with the computer stuff when it comes to recording, mixing, and all that? Or are you still old school analog?
Yes, I still do old school. Yeah, I love mixing tracks. Even for my shows, I'll take a good EP project and take it apart and fix their flaws. Because normally when I perform, you're going to hear those horns. You're going to hear that kick, uh, punching in there. And a lot of because a lot of those tracks are done very well. Don't get me wrong, but I'm my problem is I'm a perfectionist. I take my work to an unhealthy level. Put it that way.
Uh, I love that. I love hearing that. That's awesome. There's certain things, man, in life, and I think if you don't have a little bit of this in some area of your life, you're missing out on just
Right.
being a little crazy. It's
You got to
okay.
be crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a lot of crazy things. New York was that was I mean, it was a pinnacle time of my career. A very but there was a lot that went with that. There was I my some of my best friends were from the turned out to be from the syndicate, and I had the New York Police Department, and threats were coming left and right if I didn't hang out with these guys, and there was a fist fight that came in. That's one of the reasons why I left New York, because the police department threatened our lives. Oh yeah, I mean it's very in depth. They actually one of the police officers was drunk, and he came shooting his gun on the fifth floor at the Ramada Inn. And I woke up a couple of guys and said, "We're out of here. I've had enough of this." Then on the way home, they had a I was stopped in in Indiana, and they had a roadblock of cops. Of course, we had joints and everything. Everything went out of there. There was a helicopter. That's why when I saw Goodfellas, I saw the helicopter. That scene. I went through that. I know what that because it was following, flying over my van. And then I pulled over. Luckily, I knew the police officer, Glenn from Maryville, and they had a plane to take me back to New York. And I said, absolutely. And I explained what happened. There was a lot of stuff that happened in New York. That's why I left. And plus, they couldn't find an understudy.
Right.
We we did it. All I remember the producer saying, "Rick, please don't get sick." And when I did get sick, they pumped me up with enough antibiotics to kill a horse, just
Yeah.
to keep me on stage. And it was very brutal, So and they had no understudy, you know.
How long were you there in New York?
I was there for about oh well close to a year, and that's with 3 months of 2 to 3 months of rehearsing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very brutal. I mean, it was a very interesting time of my life. But again, I was with the Jordanaires. Ray took watched me over like a dad, and I hung out with Gordon and Hoyt and Neil. Hoyt and Neil always roomed together, so I would sit in there and listen to all their stories and everything. And then we were doing the Washington Stadium during this time, and I'll never forget. Hoyt was uh, closer to me. So Neil put on the other I think 6 impersonators that were there. So he's number one. Well, Hoyt got really pissed off at Neil, and Rick's number one. He's writing this down, and uh, it looked like they were going to go fist fight. I said, "This is," and then Neil saying, "It's just a joke, Hoyt. It's just a joke." These guys you couldn't help but love them. I mean, they were so down to earth, and they were so humble. The Jordanaires.
Yeah. I tell you, I didn't get a chance to know. I worked with the same fellas. I didn't get to know them as much as I did DJ. I really got to know DJ. And he was just another human being. I mean, but awesome.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we would go on the road on the East Coast, we were in the East Coast, and DJ would always grab the back of the bus of this Greyhound bus. Always fell asleep with his Michelob bottle between his legs. I got pictures of that stuff.
Man, you got
Fantastic.
I can't that would be so awesome to just be in that moment. You've got great stories because you were there. You lived it. And that's fabulous,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
That's awesome. How do
yeah.
people how do people get like because I know this conversation, I know this is going to come up. I want people to be able to get your music. I want people to be able to hear it, listen to it, buy it, experience it, whatever it is. How do people find this?
You find them on YouTube and iTunes.
Okay. Do you have a
They,
place where people can go on iTunes? They can buy
yeah,
your music?
so I'm on Spotify. I'm on iTunes. Like I says, I got a new album called Portrait of a Legend. I wrote a lot of songs that were kind of personal to me. Wrote a song about myself, about New York. Um, uh, I forgot the name. I wrote so many songs I got like 14, 15 songs, and now my brain is totally drained. I cannot think of a song to write if my life depended on it. So I think God put my stopped me from writing for a while, so I do something what He already gave me.
I
So
got you. Do you go through kind of this?
all the time,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, so yeah, I do that all the time. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
like that. I get writer's block. I'm a human being, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You just get like it's almost like you're getting a download about something, and that's what it's all about. And 3 months later, you might not be able to do anything like that. That's the way
Well,
I
see,
am.
that's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Ryan, because the thing is, you never know when it's going to be over. Back in the early years when I first started out in '72, we were playing at a Greek theater in Maryville, and we opened up for the Drifters and Danny and the Juniors. And I'm sitting in the back room, with Danny and the guys, and I see Danny rap from Danny and the Juniors, and he just sitting on the chair, all exhausted and everything, and just like I told you, and he told me that, a certain thing that stuck to me. No matter how you're feeling, give it everything you have on there, and then collapse in the back. And that's the same thing, like what I said to you. Enjoy your music. Just enjoy what you're doing. Let the people know how excited you are to please them. That's to me, that's the most important thing. And it's the same thing. Give it everything you got, and it's collapse in the back. No matter whether you're sick, no matter what the situation. I've done it. I had to get two ball joints, hip replacements. I wore everything out. A lot of dancing. 54 years of dancing, and the best thing I ever did was replace them. I can dance again. I do 2 hours a day walking.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
awesome.
everything back to normal again.
Good
You
for
know,
you,
just,
man. Good for you. I will tell this story just I don't want to embarrass you or anything, but it's really cool. Like my second, I entered a contest on the Dare. I won it. Don't know why.
okay.
My second or third gig I did or got invited to do was Elvis birthday tribute tour, Omar Farrig,
Oh yeah.
Star Plaza Theater
Right.
in Maryville, which you talked about.
Right.
And I'd never been in my life, even as just a normal human being, in a theater that big.
Right. Right.
Didn't grow up around music. So when I walk in there, I'm just immediately, whoa, what? And I see Rick Saucedo. And I don't know everything about you at that moment in time, except for the fact that you're the real deal.
A lot
And
of years.
I was so nervous and really beside myself and trying not to appear like I was, but I was super nervous. And you literally, you sensed it, and you just came up to me, and I don't even remember exactly what you said. You just gave me some encouragement. You smiled, gave me a pat on the back, and you said, "Hey, man, it's entertainment. Go
That's
entertain."
all it is. Right. Right.
And you would not believe uh, how much that impacted me just in that moment. I was still nervous. Okay. You weren't
Oh
that
yeah.
magical, but seriously, it took the edge off enough where I could get through it. And I remember that so well. And I mean, it's actually, I think about you a lot of times when I run into other people who are just younger or starting out, and just
Right.
give them that pat on the back or whatnot, because you never know what they're going to discover and what they're going to become. So thank you
Right.
so much. I appreciate that.
You know what's weird is because I wish I would have had somebody to tell me something encouraging like that. I have a poster with me in the peacock suit. Hand is like this. I have the microphone up here, and the chain is over my microphone like this. What happened was they were doing it 2001. We're playing at the Chicago, I think the Chicago Theater with the Monkees, with Mickey, Tommy Boyce, Bobby Hart, and Mickey and Davey. And I saw the audience out there, and I froze. And so somebody had pushed me out. They pushed me out. My hand grabbed the thing. They took the picture of it. Beautiful Elvis shot. Hands like this, like that, cheekbones up there. And it was like, wow, you talk about a lucky shot, you know. But that's that's was my learning experience, that you just got to go out in there and do it, because in about 45 minutes, an hour, you're going to be coming back. You're going to be getting off stage.
Yeah.
So I still get nervous going on stage. Once I'm done with the first verse, then everything starts calming down. But this very day, I still get nervous.
Wow. That's incredible to hear. What I've learned over the years is, and maybe I have a different skill set because I'm not as talented as you are, but I've screwed everything up so many times that I'm really comfortable. If anything goes wrong, I've already screwed it up. I already know what that situation's like. So I love going out and like being in front of an audience. It's just like, oh, give me something that I've never had before, So it's
right.
Funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, variety. The thing is, Elvis has such a catalog
Yeah.
of songs, and I'm known like for "Walk a Mile in My Shoes," like those kind of songs. I enjoy the different from That's the Way It Is. I just love where Elvis's voice was at, the power, the energy that goes with it. Every so often I'll do the 77. I got the perfect tracks for that, the outfit. And then, and I'll watch the film on my phone just to get the computer starting to, record. And then when I get out there, then I close my eyes. And that's the best time to do it, is close your eyes and think of what he was doing in a particular thing, a certain smile, a certain thing. That's the beauty about being an impersonator. If you can enhance the knowledge, close your eyes and imagine those verses. See, if you study the words, you study the there's a certain, Elvis has a certain tilt to his head, and because he had those high cheekbones during I'll Remember You. But so you have to time that and then impersonate it. So for every lyric, every lyric that there is, Elvis has a certain expression to it. Close your eyes and practice it at home. Try to remember the plot. An artist always studies his work 24/7. The only person that can do it was the creator of that style, which was Elvis. Us as impersonators, or whatever we're called, those things is, we have to close our eyes, remember the song, remember how he portrayed it, and then start the motion, start the film. That's how you do it.
That's awesome, man.
It works.
Guys need to listen to this. Guys need to listen to it by one of the best out there ever. That is awesome advice, man.
Remember, Ryan, it's not just the music. It's a portrayal of the lyric. Understand the lyric. Understand the facial that goes with that lyric. That's all you need. The music, don't worry about the music. Those key points are very important, and it's always worked for me. You know.
Awesome. Awesome.
Oh, and I have a.
Check this out, Ryan.
I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, Portrait of a Legend. That's your
Yeah, but look, really look.
Look close to the picture.
Look closer to the picture.
Can you see it?
no, there's a little bit of a glare, so I can't actually see what it is because of the shrink wrap.
Can you see it that way?
Yep.
See who's sitting? See Rick walking out?
You see who's
And see
standing there?
who's to the left of him?
Who's that?
You.
It's you.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Yes,
it is.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
100%.
Where was this at? Maryville?
Yeah, it's Maryville.
That's incredible, dude. I'll take a picture of that and send it to me on my phone.
We'll send you the.
I'll send you the whole, yeah, we'll send you the
whole
whole
thing. Yeah, because we're picking out the picture. I said, you know what? You know, I've always liked Ryan. I'm going to keep him on my last album. You know.
Oh, dude, I don't deserve that. That's incredible. I can't wait to see that picture.
Oh yeah, you'll remember it. You know, because we were taking those bows, and you're in the leather outfit. And you were standing on the left hand side, and then I walked out there, and they took a picture of my back. So I figured that'd be a good cover from the end of the album.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about, and you were standing there right next to me. So, yeah.
That's hilarious. That's awesome, man. Let me ask you this. Elvis Presley had, I don't even know the number. Rick, was it 800 some recorded songs? Whatever it was. I mean,
it varies, you know, because I mean, you got the early Sun years. You got the total amount. You know, he claims 350. Could be more. I really don't know.
yeah, it's like some of them are live, and then there's like 5 different versions of Polk Salad and all this stuff.
Right.
But anyways,
the thing is, you can't count Hound Dog because there's so many versions. You got to catch the original version. But if you want to get totally nuts, then you count them, all of them. Madison Square Garden, you know, Hawaii, you know, there's just so many versions of it, you know.
yeah, and I mean, just even the studio recording in RCA versus the Milton Berle performance. So yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Man, my favorite thing about getting into this Elvis world, because I didn't start as an Elvis fan at all. I knew nothing about Elvis. I knew nothing about music, period.
Right.
But over the years, you know, you first learn the songs you got to learn because people want you to get on a stage and sing them. So
The
you learn
standards.
those. Yes. But man, there is some gems in that catalog of amazing
I know.
songs that
I know.
I don't know why they weren't the biggest hits. They're like my favorite songs, you know, are not the standards.
Well, the thing is, you know what? That was a barrier I had to break because back in the day, they The Sound of Your Cry wasn't, you know, a popular song. If you look at his catalog, you know, the Walk a Mile box set, you know, Raised on Rock wasn't, you know, a major thing. Steamroller Blues, yeah, because it was on the Aloha. There's certain thing, Moody Blue. Moody Blue is probably, I have to say, one of my favorite albums. I just love where Elvis went with that, you know, that album. But there's just that catalog is just so, I mean, so wide range. I mean, when you add Old MacDonald to it, you know it's off the charts. How many songs he sang? Yeah.
Song of the Shrimp.
Another one of my favorite ones from Girls, Girls, Girls. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. If you could say, this will be awesome too to hear, and it could be anything, but what is Rick Saucedo's favorite Elvis Presley song?
Oh, I have to still go up to Suspicious Minds, the studio.
Okay.
I love the studio. You know, things I enjoy. I mean, it's great to do the international or do Aloha, Suspicious Minds, but still, when I hear that studio version, I'm just in awe of the tempo, the timing. Burnin' Love. I love the original studio versions. Those are, to me, are priceless. Now, when you're with a band, it's always hard to find a band that will play it like a studio.
You can't.
I've had so many troubles with bands. I have to go show them the bass pattern. No, that's not the way it goes. You know, I'm like I said, I'm too meticulous when it comes to the music department. You know, they don't want to be around me.
I don't want to be in your band, Rick.
did a thing in Sweden, and I had to teach the band members how to play it. The song. They were playing it wrong. You know,
And they were Swedish.
we did a show down in Sweden and Finland.
Okay.
When we went to Europe, and went to rehearsal with them, the Sun Cats, and they were doing Marie's Name. No, 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 no. Double in the Skies. No, 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 no. This is what you do. Okay, on the drums, do this. This is what you do. You're getting it wrong here. But you know what? The Europeans are some of the most finest musicians, and they still love American music more than Americans like it. I hate to say that, but it's true.
Yeah.
Because they're it's something about our music. It's just like in England, they love our music, and we love their music. Because if you look at McCartney and Lennon, with Chuck Berry and Gene Vincent, that, and Chuck, that particular music formed their music. So everybody was exchanging or stealing. Everybody stole, but what they did, they tweaked it. And you hear like George Harrison's Gretsch playing, like for instance, Roll Over Beethoven. You hear that Gretsch, what you would hear from Carl Perkins. It's amazing how the music went. It got splattered all over the place, but everything the way it came out made sense per country. That's what I find amazing.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else that's fabulous, I think, in Europe is some of the music halls that they have. There was a real focus on acoustics versus, I think, some of the theaters. Like we do have the vaudeville theaters, and some of them are really fabulous, but they have these different style theaters that were it was 100% about acoustics.
But those were old theaters.
Yeah, and it sounds different. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Today's buildings are different compared to the originals from the 1800s. That's why in New York, that was a place to go, was the Palace Theater. You had the Winter Gardens, you had all these other theaters off Broadway, but the Palace with Judy Garland, where the Three Stooges were, the Marx Brothers, they were all at the Palace Theater. And there was a certain sound in that theater. And there were certain vibes that I got when I was there also, I'm into spirituality too.
Ghost vibes.
Ghost vibes. Oh, I've seen them. I've seen weird shit like that, but
I believe it. I just spent for my other podcast, I did an episode about the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. It's supposed to be the most haunted hotel in the world, but yeah, I love the old stuff. I love history, and I know what you're talking about. So yeah, dude, this has been awesome. I think people are going to be surprised though, because Rick, you're a legend and almost in many ways untouchable. But I love your humanity.
Well, the thing is, I've never looked at myself other than as a human being. To me, the most important thing is what I'm going to leave. That to me, and we can go into spiritual, people that called Christ, the Son of God, he created the miracles. And I think by bragging to the Roman Empire and to their official priests, they kind of made them, I guess, how would I put it? They sunk him because they kept on calling, he's the Son of God, he's the Messiah. Well, that politically, they were losing power because they think Jesus was going to overrule them, which wasn't the case. So that's why and the only way they could have stopped him was by crucifixion. They had to shut him up, and that. But I mean, there was a plan for that. because that's why, our sins will be, saved because of the blood of his blood that he shed for us. But like I says, I'm into religion. It helps keep my head above water.
Absolutely.
I'm protected by God, my guardian angels. I've always been protected. So, and that's where I owe it all to them. I was just a vessel to bring the music here. That's it.
No. Your legacy is something else. We'll see how much further it goes, though, because I think you're not done yet, man. I love it. And people need to, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. Rick Saucedo, look for it. Get his music, support it. And then, obviously that CD you just showed has an awesome back cover.
Yeah, because you're on it.
Look at your phone. I sent you a picture of your phone.
All right. This is I'm kidding about that, Rick, but that is funny. That's funny. Oh Lord. And that's you right there. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, and that was that's gotta be Myrna there, right?
Yeah, Myrna was that, yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh man. God.
I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
It just goes by too fast. That's the bottom line, man.
I know.
But I appreciate it. How do if people want to you're in Chicago. I don't know how much traveling you do and whatnot, but do you have places you play regularly or a way for people to find out?
Just clubs. I'm kind of low key. I still like to do my jumpsuit show, but I'm actually now starting to do some more of my songs that my audiences are familiar with, but with a band now. So I get to play guitar again, like I did back in the early 70s. So I'm actually, kind of taking a little bit of a little right turn here. I'm still going to do my Elvis show, and I'm going to do, the Bill Haley, the Rock Around the Clock, Trying to Be Good, Blue Suede Shoes, I Will Stay, Marie's the Name, but play with a band. So I want to have some fun. Turning 70, I want to, have some fun now in my golden years.
There you go, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. I appreciate you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Check this guy out. If you get a chance to see him, if you don't get a chance to get his music, because he's a legend in his own right. And I love the fact your humility, your soul, your spirit. Rick, you're awesome, man. Thank you, buddy.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
One and only, Rick Saucedo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in this week to the ETA Files. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the ETA Files community. And if you're looking for something a little different, be sure to stop by my podcast, The Ryan Files. Keep rocking, my friends, and I'll see you next week with another story from the Elvis tribute artist world. In the meantime, check out these video links below.